Introduce our first reader, Peter Carlaftes.
So first, body and anti-soul. The human being has antibodies to fight off trauma, but sadly our souls do not. The antidote is time, they say, or numbness if time be unendurable. Should there not be a counteractive entity inside the human soul? The body has evolved to attack new diseases, though the soul remains the same, blameworthy receptacle, falling and feeling ready for more. The tide has turned. Due to warming, the earth became an entirety of ocean, where the remaining underwater life has cordoned off humans in terrarium-like containers where oxygen abounds, and the sea creatures are all fascinated by human life on parade. The big difference is nobody charges admission, but sometimes a little plastic gets stuck in the oxygen filter, and those fish in charge of cleaning make damn sure the humans in their sector know the oxygen is scarce before cleaning out the filter. Ooh-blah-da. Contempt of court. The Supremes went on tour, all nine, selling out democracy in every state. Baby Love, their biggest hit amongst the anti-abortion crowd, with My World is Empty Without You, the perfect encore. The original artists are powerless to stop them because they answer to none. Pro-life, anti-trans, the so-called dream is an American delusion. Stop in the name of love of country. A sellout is a sure sign of success. I rest my case. Drop the bomb, I want to get off. While the outward me appears totally fearful, the inner being says, take us out, me included, quickly. World wars, commies, Cold Wars, ISIS, selling the same bill of goods in a different box. No, this time the threat is real. What a waste of spent time fearfully waiting under the thumb for annihilation. Let's cut to the end of the chase and get off. Street life. You would run into certain guys in different parts of the city, and if they needed a deuce or a fin, we'd look out for one another. Once in a while, you'd see a guy who owed you across the street, and that was that. Or you wouldn't see another guy ever again. But mostly we paid each other back and kept surviving somehow, barely scraping by. And my final piece is Perfect O'Clock. High praise belongs to every waking moment. The coughing, the doubts, a little treat between lunch and dinner, a bar of soap falls in the tub while you shower, ants appear all over the kitchen counter, a white plastic bag softly floats in the air, the ceiling drips off and on without reason, taking that last bites of a slice of pizza and tossing the plate in the garbage. Cause for celebration. Every second, your friend. All right.
All right, Peter. And our second reader tonight is Cat George's me. Okay. So I am very, very thrilled to be a part of this group. And I'm going to read. Hello. Hello. I'm going crazy. Want to come? In a while, not now. My socks are damaged. I am damaged. Got to fill these holes with something. Tenderly, tenderly, tender me 50 and I'll sing you a song, sing you to sleep. What's the golden rule and who wrote it? I am a diseased descendant of a diseased society. Critique transaction-based decisions except mine. Now, where were we? Love? Hello? I'll take 2 wallets and a Snickers, 2 brewskis and an LED light bulb, 2 tutus from Desmond Tutu's Tutus 2. 2 of you anytime, babe. Hold that pose. Sunlight on your hair is so hot. Answer me this, my dear brutalist. Have you changed for a quarter? Of what? Pounder, bag, tank, hour? Hello, I'm going crazy. Want to come? Take a ride in this shitstorm called life, where cats act like they got all the answers. But what do cats say about spiders the size of a child's hand parachuting up and down the East Coast this summer? About time, about face, about two, about you. It's all about you. Dig the human tragedy unfolding on your phone while you check the map for the closest bar, restaurant, dry cleaner, viral violin player. My heart is heavy. What do you recommend? Gluten-free does nothing for me. I was weightless as a child, grateful to remember all these many years later. Before I forget, let me tell you what a blue sky is. A massage for your eyes, a nudge, a mother's hug. Add a white seagull soaring. Add a brilliant white puffy cloud. Add a distant sea horizon. Add a cathedral. Add a skyscraper. Add the Statue of Liberty. Add those you love. Add trees and more trees. Add a monarch's butterflies, orange and black, bursting off this azure ceiling. Add your dog, joyful, leaping toward it. Add your hands, rising above your head, greeting this turquoise atmosphere like your best friend, lifting spirits of all beneath its unvarnished cobalt existence. Luminosity. Let's drop the news for the night. Drop the politics, the masks, the wars, the he said, she says, the shocking new polls. Drop the disbelief that another rich one got away with another bullshit crime. Drop the stomach churning sense of futility that the future once so bright is now dim. Drop the need for spectacle as escape. Drop the need to explain our malaise. Drop the need to complain about the electric bill, the phone bill, the credit card payment, the bank account of no return, the hunger. Drop everything except you and me right here. Just us for who knows how long. Drop the need to mark time passing here in this eternal moment. Drop all but our deep look into the luminosity of each other, the searing glow that brought us together, the internal radiance that never fades except through distance and the obstacles we place between us, obscuring memory of what light remains. I have two more. Roses. Sit for a minute, stay. Let us sing sad songs to each other about the dreams of endless golden days in pink cottages overlooking sandstone cliffs. Dreams where we perched, you and I, sipping iced green libations, watching boys become men mastering waves, kissed by gentle, salty breezes as sun breaks the marine layer and roses begin to petal the sand, slender in their sunglasses, sneers, and neon bright bikinis. Let us brush each other's tears away as our childhoods disappear, as our days of glory wash away, as we become the faded faces no one in our dreams can see. Let us hold each other as we chant the lengthening list of loss. Let us help each other remember stories, to distinguish the gone ones, to flash them to flesh for a second. We are a part of those stories. We must remember. So much pales in time like shells on the beach, bleaching what was once distinct to a blur. Let us pledge, you and I, that we will not be blurs. We will vibrate with passion, grateful, electric, each breath a part of our limitless tale. And finally, bounce. Let's talk about renewal. Let's talk about the bounce. When you get that light step, when you meet the street starting high, when negatives seem like a joke, and you wear problems like removable tattoos, knowing they're only as real as they look, and looks can be deceiving. Renewal, when you stare at the sky and ask, why not? Then get started drawing maps showing how you get from where you are now to where you are not now. You pack your suitcase with people who get in your way and throw it out the window. You are not on earth to be happy or sad or brilliant. You are here on this earth to be you in all your glorious flaws and fat in the wrong places and a tooth or two that doesn't glimmer like a blank piece of paper. Your teeth have lived. You have lived. And you turn off the notifications of the mild achievements of others who'd make you so jealous you'd hold your phone up to a mirror and cry because you didn't look like any of them. You keep it going when all you want to do is pack it in and play video games, watch movies, or sleep, sleep, sleep. You keep going when the last thing you want to do is shuffle off to your dull job, cash your lousy paycheck, stare at the walls, and try to figure out how to make the stack of bills smaller than the dollars left in your bank account. You don't want a side hustle. You are full complete. This is me hustle. You want to do the hustle. You want to dance past that everyone sinks into and get your arms around a big fat dose of this life and say, here I am, come and get me. All right, thank you. Now let's go to our next reader, Meghan Grupposo. Hi, Meghan.
Hello, hello, hello. Rotation. All the world's atoms conveyor belting over themselves repeatedly, forever. The deserts hum the distant sound of perpetual repurposing. Nothing new under the sun, they said, swayed patched elbows, looking over their glasses that bandied about, hug absent, they're there now. Nothing new under the sun is old as in weathered and worn and cracking from too much of its own self. The way it's always been, stay in your corner, suck it up. Nothing new under the sun is said to keep us where someone else put us, like Protestant or prostitute. Why so many options? If my parents hadn't baptized me, my grandmother would have abducted me, plus a task-ready priest. Add an unlockable closet, because the afterlife and soul's translation, fear. When I am afraid, I climb into closets, rub my cheeks on hems, listen to others without the pressure of replying. Our people lived in caves, my aunt said, and I thought, all people lived in caves, until I understood shame and people compared to animals. Forget where we've been, we move forward, reinvent oneself through worship. But I desire again and again to be close to the earth. All humans are animals. The world swallows itself and rebirths itself and shits itself and cries. Don't remake the same torments. Write it down so we'll remember. Some caves are exquisite. Fault lines folding in on themselves, eternally repurposing how dearly we think we know things. There's that glasses look again. So much pipe smoking confidence. It's not new. Like being explained to about what it's like to be what you are with a large hand on your neck, how large some hands can be, how unaware of well-practiced patience a hand can be, how unaware that a formed to not offend, while a hand explains non-consensually. There can be nothing new under the sun if hands and pipes get offended when made to listen. Also, stop touching my hair. A rototiller works the soil, lifts shale, sends down loam, lifts up freshly germinated others. Spines to the bright light from 93 million miles away. Our rock tills the same space over and over and over, a perfect pony in its arena, making everything that's ever been new again. Second poem. The Pleiades march across the sky, silence. I put off writing because what is there to say? Loss can't be mended. Not really. I put off writing because each time I start, I talk about myself like you haven't lost your best friend, as if this is a letter from another time. I discuss the weather, compare it to last year. I tell you about the kids' latest growth spurt, digress into the difficulty of finding pants that fit when shopping exclusively online and your kids a beanpole. As if the same cutting of sky hasn't been the main event for 2 years on end, a solace with buildings all around, my feet on their little slice of earth, and at least there's this sky. I start writing, I start to cry. I see the moon out during the day. I hear your man loud. Go home, moon, you're drunk. I think about telling you that, but I know you already know. I think it'd be better in person. I think wait till it's warmer. I think it'll be better if I make you one more thing. There's no mending loss. I wish we could sit together in silence. I wish I could send you shared silence. The Pleiades march across the sky, silence. The cormorant on the East River, silent. Watching the ice melt, finding a seed cache in the park, jellyfish moon's absolute midday refusal to sober up. A pigeon flock's sudden swoop in afternoon sun. I'd send you the looking up because we saw their shadow on the sidewalk. I'd send you sitting with you, breathing. Last one. What will you focus on with your laser pointed heart? Or when will you understand that you're the sun? Carry a song despite what's going on in your vicinity. Hum it. It only has something to do with you because you're there. What would help you realize what is and isn't you? I'm not talking about this illusion of separateness, but alighting yourself. Tease out the most beautiful thread. You'll know it when you see it. The one connected heart to heart that threads the stars behind the clouds. Wrap it around your ring finger and marry the moon. Make things grow. Thanks, everybody.
So we'll keep going with our next reader. That would be Karen Hildebrand.
All right. I'm so happy that this group exists. I don't think what no one has said yet is that it's not an easy thing to write a poem every day, you know, and I admire the commitment of all of you. Not all of us can do this every day. So thanks for being here. This is a self-portrait with farm stand peach. Big as a grapefruit. I lift it like a chalice with both hands, my peach. A slight give of the flesh, its blush, a burning sunset. The cashier rings it up at 1875. Surely a mistake. A single peach that anyone else would quietly return to its crate. Mouth moist, I imagine a blade cutting the first tart slice, the jagged teeth at its heart. How well it will stand up to a brute gorgonzola when laid on the blue plate from Tuscany that has made it all this way. This is a self-portrait with Speaker of the House. I wonder what she'll do after decades holding sway, now but a strand of pearls to twirl round perfect nails. I am charmed by her lips, drawn bigger than they are. They press a stain onto her flute and me as I flinch. There are rules, she says, holding out a scroll in one hand, hissing iron the other. Which shall I grab with my hungry claw? Each day we rise early to tend to the animals. At dusk, we spin Wheel of Fortune from twin recliners, a ray of blue light. Self-portrait as hibernating bear. I can't sleep. When I do, I dream I am a bear. My worries, bear worries. How long can I live on belly fat alone? How so these pockets of fur that load me down with gravity? These shadows the moon makes at midnight, these shadows the moon makes on a midnight wall, are they alien beings come to rob me of a kidney? Bears don't worry about ice to fill the tub while waiting for rescue, or health providers who refuse their insurance. Did you know bears gather and stand watch when one of theirs is dying? Not to rescue, nor to swoop in with a comforting crock-pot dinner. They simply bear witness. What if they are the creatures at the foot of my bed? It could happen anytime, the dying, given we begin the day we're born. You're not alone, they whisper each night. Be a bear, they say. Self-portrait in beige. No Herman Miller furnished cabin in the Catskills. More like overheated and peeling in Brooklyn. Some days, big finned 57 Imperial, chamois body rust buffed out, chrome trim, white gloved sidewalls floating under the buzzing neon, Red Hook Lobster Pond. Yesterday, Miss Ada's seared scallops and caramel ice cream, chocolate babka. The crows outside Moe's, no earbuds, Al Green loud. One more. Self-portrait in Dior. So still these mannequins perch on stiletto heels, a whoosh of skirts, satin, taffeta, chiffon, pinched at the waist, iced with lace, they look like wedding cakes. Oh, if the hump of my spine were a bell plump as these gowns, a jellyfish bloom. Aged women bent over walkers. Let me float, says the lily pad, I can't feel my feet. Bluebell bows her head, my soul to keep. Thank you.
Next up, please welcome to our Zoom stage, Matthew Hupert.
All right, here we go. I've always enjoyed being me, other than the imposter syndrome and anger issues and mild addictions and crippling doubt and arrogance and inability and lack of commitment and distraction. Luckily, I'm a borderline narcissist, so I enjoy being me. 2:37 on a dreamless night. There are days when time is measured in pounds per square inch, when the shortest path between 2 points screams in dog whistle harmony. Sisyphus and Atlas have tied you their burdens. The world keeps slipping down the mountain. What can you do but shoulder the oceans and start the roll up again? This one's called Lightning Rod Blues. I crave to climb the hill lightning loved, to see the land flash illuminated, laid out before me in strobe-like clarity. I found the peak pitted darkly, shadow-crossed, camouflaged. Now I prefer lowlands and my reflection in pools of ash-filled water. Two kinds of people. When you first heard, step on a crack, break your mother's back, what did you do? Did you studiously avoid each and every line, stepping in the center of every sidewalk square, detouring around splits and deformities as if they were all really spine and vertebrae? Or did you gleefully or guiltily step on each and every just to see what would happen? We all know which I was. This one is called Manual Dexterity. In a cupped hand, I hold my heart, but on the other hand, my head. My anger, my joy, my pain, my hope, my future, my actions, my intent, my thoughts, my needs, my words, my deeds, my plans, my accident, my bad, my error, my goals. I have so many on the other hands, I could be a Hindu goddess. Thank you. All right, a few more, three more. This is called Double Helix, or How to Become What You Are. And there's an epigram from Nietzsche, Ecce homo, wie man wird, was man ist. Splatterdash, remembranced recombination, time spliced, light sculpted, smelted in happenstance, nova born star spores, earth rooted and blossomed. Well played, Nietzsche, well played. How to cure most misunderstandings, whether personal or political. Silently before everything you hear, loudly before everything you say, add the phrase, it seems to me. Thank you. All right, I have one more, but before I do it, I just want to say this group has been amazing, just keeping me writing, and the quality of the poetry that just comes pouring into my my mailbox day after day is astounding and a bit daunting. And I love you all. Thank you. This is amazing. All right, last one. This also has an epigram. This is called In and Out. And the epigram is from Alex in Clockwork Orange, who said, "No time for the old in and out, love. I'm just here to read the meter." Listening to Art Farmer spread his jazz message and contemplating all the nested spirals and contrapuntal motions, the tensions and contradictions, the ceaseless action to and fro, in and out, the inhale and exhale of making love, making life, and just making do that refine, confine, and define the human condition. Let's you and I settle into the rhythm. Thank you. Thank you all so much.
And we're going to go to our next reader, Bonnie L. Markowski.
This first one, actually, someone in this group, rather than sending prompts, sent poetic forms. And this was one I had never heard of, but fell quite in love with. So I wrote a hay bun. And this one's called Hay Bun for Charlie's Trees. Misshapen, bones decayed, spotted, knotted, like the spurs on old knees and knuckles, but still able to hold a glass of wine or a nest, still green enough to shelter a pulse of life. When you died, you left the trees, the nests, the birds. When the apocalypse came, your pines linked their fragile bones, sisters in arms, while I covered my ears. The chainsaw screeched like a hawk on fire. God now comes to your naked yard in shame. No green awnings to hide the sun, me, the sun from me, the birds. The crabgrass apologizes for its coarse flesh. Balls of fur squirrel through the purple clover like drunks that can't find their beds. Shadows of ghost finches dart through the cold blanch of sky. I remember how in December they bore the weight of cold white, blessed our tables green. In March, how they trembled in the winds like your thin arms. But in June, how they still had enough strength to be home. The voiceless songbird mourns the loss of holy green, weeps, descends with me. On Farrell Street. On Farrell Street, you can't be 10 on Farrell Street, even in a red checkered dress with a Scotty dog on it. The house you carry is ponderous, resting on your small shoulders. 20 maybe, but still not enough layers of life between you and the cracking coal mine below. You can't be patient on Farrell Street. You need to move as soon as you can, because even if the shot glass has a pretty L etched on it, you're still a little girl drowning in ochre, caught in a whiskey dream, a mosquito stuck in amber goo before it fossilizes. You can't love the belly of things on Farrell Street, not your own fat belly or the belly of bread. You learn to like the crusts, the edges of things, the pink crescent of the watermelon rind, though the gut punch of words becomes a way you know you're still there. No indigo bunting bruises someone might call cruelty, just a catalog list of why you should not, ... You can't live on Farrell Street, yet you do, even when all other voices slap you against the shabby papered walls. You learn to like the corners, ignore the smell of burned shoes and the coal stove, the stinging, smelling man breath. You hide in your nona's apron, wonder why you fell in love with the smell of bleach. This is Sister Moon. I whisper to the girl in the moon, talk to me. Tell me about your beginning. Do you remember your birth? Was it miracle or burden? Were you ripped from the earth, flung to the sky alone? Did it hurt? Why are you there, right there in the sky? Are you my sister who died, stillborn? Why can't I touch you? Can you come closer so I could smell your downy fine hair, kiss your limp blue lips? Are you the hole within me, ravenous for honey? And this is my last one. It's called Soft Pockets. This morning, I want to drop my knives, bury my hatchet hands in soft pockets, let them rub against an easy seam. Or at least, I want to stop cutting at you, rest my ferocious fists in the soft pockets of your gardening jeans, roll your pocket knife and coins between my fingers, not remembering. I want to climb away from the granite feelings, use my hands for kneading bread, clay, hard stances, as you lay now in the soft pocket of memory. I want to lick pink cotton candy from a paper cone, rebuffing the too sweetness of it, twirl in a gingham dress mommy made, say, Daddy, look at my patent leather shoes. Dance around the ballroom like a small princess balanced on your clumsy feet. You white-knuckled the course, raged, refused to physically rappel over the ledge, though your mind leapt long ago. I hung on too, to the tight, stubbly braid of your dying, firmly fearing I'd be taken up with you, so jungled together were our angsts, like knotted hairs needing a good brushing, 100 times a night with the boar bristle brush before I went to sleep in the soft pocket of what you could not be. Thank you.
Our next reader is coming to us from Los Angeles. Here is, please welcome, Richard Modiano.
My mother was a showgirl. She danced topless at the Flamingo in Vegas before I was born. That's where my father saw her. And she always proudly said, Ben Siegel himself hired her, a nice Jewish girl who treated with respect, such a handsome man, and a gentleman too. But that chicksa ruined him. Don't fall for a gold digger, she told me, as though I had any gold, as though we were rich. Don't worry about me, Ma. I mean, even though all my girlfriends were shiksas, and 2 of them happened to be women of color. Well, she didn't mind as long as they were clean and weren't gold diggers. Just be happy, she told me. The hardest commandment of all. And this poem, I want to interject a slight personal note here. A very good friend of mine and friend of Kat and Peter's, Doug Knott, passed away last Friday. And I read this poem to him over the phone before he went on his trip to San Miguel de Allende. where Neil Cassidy died and where, alas, Doug called his death of Legionnaire's disease. So, Doug, this is for you. Saw the red cigarette glow in the cop's mouth, and I hurried on. He must have been on a break with his partner, and I'm walking at this late hour in the deserted park. Just couldn't sleep. No intent, just insomnia. I feel like I have sneak thief, prowler written all over me. How silently are these cops, men with guns, seeing me quicken my pace. What'd I do wrong? Under the ghastly light of the halogen lamps, my misshapen shadow, somehow monstrous. I'm trotting now, trying to get out of the park, back to the street. My breath in the night, in the still night air, out of the sight of the cops, I feel human again. Warmly content, I see that woman, beautiful, looking at the evening sky, and pressing with her hands her breasts, as her gaze shifts and she sees me and greets me. Comrade, she says, smiling, and I know what a comrade is. A comrade is not necessarily a friend. You don't even have to like a comrade. A comrade is someone who's on your side, someone who has your back, someone you can rely on, someone you trust. But she likes me, and we are friends. She's been good to me, and I love her. All the more because she is a comrade. And what more could you ask of a comrade than love that she inspires? And last, and I should say that when I'm stuck with some of the prompts, I actually use a surrealist trick by filling a pot, a black bottom pot with water and staring into it until images come to me. So this is one of those poems. Of course, I always invoke the muse, as the late Frank Rios used to invoke the muse, the lady he called her. So, mist loomed in the rejoicing crunches of her hair. Granite of sweat and tears cover her face, inscribed with coal. Her song fills the dawn like the sign of the beginning of love. The trembling of an expectation on her eyelids has been fluttering since cats crossed the desert of the Rio. Her sinuous fingers gesture to the stars and travel the galaxies at 24 frames a second in a fiery column of joy. When she sighs, the clouds condense and pour torrents onto the dragon ladies who are her ladies in waiting. She listens and hears only the rose of the leashed sphinx, held by the hand of fate. She moans like the spewing from Pele's mouth, flowing onto Carlaftes' face. She breathes and dances like the crab nebula concealing the asteroid of freedom. The night's engulfing shroud is found in the peaks of day, inhaled by reclining lemurs. When the world's grief weighs like the feather of a pheasant stroking the lips of Aphrodite, Her terrible anger will explode into transcendent strophes of glass that coalesce in my heart. Thank you.
Our next reader is Marianne.
Okay.
Yay! Okay. Marianne Murray.
Wow.
Oh, I'm so thrilled.
Not a
that we can
moment
do
too
this.
soon. I figured it out.
All right. Okay. So why don't you talk a little bit about the group and how you started it, and then read your poems. Thank you.
Well, Kat, you did such a great job of describing it, but yeah, I mean, it's going on 2 years. It'll be 2 years in April that we've been going, and as Kat mentioned, it's every day, and so we're continually writing and sharing each other's poetry, and yeah, I just love this group, and it's been just I love this group of poets in particular. It's been great. Do you want, so I think I'll just go on with the poetry then. All right. Summer tomatoes. The luxury of a fresh picked tomato at breakfast. I would never touch a winter tomato. Hard and mean as winter itself. We're getting to the last of them, the tomatoes. Little choice but to gorge on them until I'm sick of them, which will never happen. Winter blues. On days like this, with a bite to the weather colder than the Fahrenheit, Florida does seem like a place I'd like to visit. Not haven to exiled despots and other right-wing conspiracy wingnuts, but a place of sun and citrus, sloshing oceans, tropical drinks, a place to thaw the bones, to bury one's head in the sand. Speed skating. Just the click of their blades on the satiny skin of ice, their satiny suits flashing, all elegance and arm swing. To glide with such efficiency, to speed through space, poised as a shark. Shapeshift. NASA has recorded a black hole, and it sounds exactly like you think it would. Haunting, terrifying. The sound of galaxies being gobbled up. Lucky for us, a comfortable 200 million light years away. Practice makes perfect. Election Day 2022, the midterms, a day beginning with a blood red moon. If you were a believer in omens, it could scare you, but nothing is decided yet. Until the polls close, one slender remaining hope. Practice makes perfect too. The day after Election Day 2022, the anticipated Democratic drubbing never materializing, confirming my pre-election stress reduction strategy. Skim the headlines, keep the pundits at bay, and deal with the results where they lay after Election Day. No breaks. All of the world's woes, they appear to fit, but fit not exactly together, to fuse into an array of day after day after day, having to manage the inflow of information, a semi-permeable membrane where only just so much can get in. A voice in the void. Chalk it up as another weird climate change related thing. Not even June, and a single cricket is chirping continually, wildly, like it's an emergency, which it is. Normal, normal. You could mutter under your breath, hacking ice off your car, the sting of sub-zero air frosting in great plumes before you, your hair frosted too. Real winter, a semblance of normal. Okay, just a couple more. Aftermath. I get my COVID booster and my immune system throws the kitchen sink at it. It's like I can feel the antibodies circling as I lie there sleepless in my bed, vibrating, sweating. But in my fevered state, I have such clarity, as if in the delirium and all the collisions of antibodies and antigens, the clouds parted and revealed to me a sense of biological me, essential me, the blip that I am on the continuum. And ending with this, a coin falling in water. Dance performance at Kotzebue, the Catskills purpling in the distance, clouds smeared above the mountains, the setting sun blistered like a yolk, the dancer's green slip, a sliver against the trees, silver, a slip into water. That's it. Thank you.
So we are now pleased to welcome Dan Liberthson.
All right. This one's called Mother as a Fish, an Owl, and More. She sits after dinner, asynchronously opening and closing her eyes and mouth. And that is our cue to giggle and shout, large-mouthed bass, until she purses her lips and we cry, small-mouthed bass, until she widens her eyes, round like her face, and solemnly intones, woo, woo, to a flood of laughter, and we kids chanting when we catch our breath, owl, do it again. And she would, silly in play, but dogged as she was when serious and insisting we behave. Plump, short, snub-nosed, forehead broad under dark brown bangs, she moved slowly, more like a turtle or manatee than the animals she mimed, but her mind loved and quickened in the chase, lynx-like, closing on the zigs and zags of rabbity ideas sprung by fools with too many degrees, then clinching her argument, punishing the shocked prey with biting logic, until its offending maker backed away, stunned, swaying, licking wounds. This morning, I woke in a dream of her 40 years from the day she died. Minnie, my cow cat, who waxes moon-faced fatter by the month, sat in her breakfast chair and studied me with huge round eyes, more intense than usual, angled her head, opened her mouth to meow, closed it again, tilted her head sideways to appraise, jumped, and deftly landed in my lap. Paws on my chest, she stretched, gently touched her nose to my lips, and settled back to wait expectantly, as if mere petting would not be enough. This one's to go with the weather we're having. Stormy weather. Some are born to sweet delight. Some are born to the endless night. William Blake. The blizzard hit the night my college friend went to the wedding of the love of his life to another man. Tom drank to endure it, but the storm raged through him. Icy winds and sleet froze his soul. He lost his way home that night, bewildered by pain, booze, low visibility, and many-legged darkness crawling in, to end up in a small town, not his, pounding on a front door, not his, bewildered that his key wouldn't work and his love would not let him in. The frightened old lady inside called 911. The police were surprisingly kind, but of course had to book him and provide bare, barred hospitality for that night. At the arraignment, the small, bent lady he terrorized, who reminded him of his mother, rattled by his father's drinking, but willing herself calm and maternal, she listened to his sorrowing apology and was kind to him too. So the judge, finding no criminal record or intent, and thorough remorse. Just find him and ordered community service. As Tom drove home sober and sobered, the storm had shrieked itself out, and sunlight lanced sharply off snow so bright it forced his darkness deeper. Life had thrust a heavy spear into him, and in the 22 years he had left, its stubborn black point worked inward until his wounded heart gave out. Cracks. They've appeared in the cinder blocks of our foundation. No warning signs, just now you don't see it, now you do. Will the wall crumble, our house tumble? Not to worry, the foundation guy says. It's only settling. We'll measure it in summer, and if it gets too much, the fix is cheap and easy. Jack up the corners and support. Quick fix now, fill the cracks and patch to keep out water and bugs and whatever. Have a nice day. It'll be a scorcher. It's the whatever that worries me, as when I read about the cracks in the world, so many getting wider, no quick fix, no calm voice saying, don't worry. This morning, I woke at 4, buzzing with fright. In a dream, I'd straddled 2 ice floes melting away. My feet drew further and further apart. A voice said, watch out, it's deep and so cold. This one a little lighter. Maybe I'll make it the last. Cat play in 2 acts. Sunlight through malachite casts green ovals on the floor that move subtly as the pendant rotates. My cat's eye is captured and she bats at the shapes, intrigued, but annoyed that her questing paw can't pin them down. Her tail stops it swish and twitch, and with the feline equivalent of a shrug, she turns and ambles nonchalantly toward her food bowl, careful not to show frustration. If those shifting spots think she's not interested, a surprise return later could make for a more successful hunt. Now she sits on the corner window ledge, looking deliberately at her food, back curved in a graceful but comfortable arch. I bask in the sun's heat and the inward warmth I get from pleasing her. Between mouthfuls, she casts casual sideways glances toward those fascinating green spots, but quickly returns to her food, picking up kibble with a soft, hand-like paw and munching with quiet pleasure. An eternity waits in which to catch a green dot.
Readers, next up we have Kathy Nelson.
I have 4 poems. Under the canopy of night, cool metal under bare feet, the pulse of ripples against the side of a small boat, a lantern burning on the bow. A father whispers to his young daughter, reminds her to keep quiet as she can, not to scare the fish. The small girl, the melody of the lake, her father's stillness, the rocking. My father just home from the war, Hawaiian girls, cigarettes, Midway locked in his ditty box, the key dropped in the Pacific, but not to stay, The GI Bill, the lure of a college town, the same endless wind-wrecked plain as home, sky blackened by earth, but the world so much wider. And there she is, his will-be wife, my mother, not so foreign as the island girls, but glamorous, lipstick, sultry film star smile, the tiny gap between her teeth and invitation. Not like the plain girl at home his mother mentioned every letter, docile, modest in the front pew. The wedding, pearls, magnolia blossoms, Gulf damp heat. The groom's sister crying, the bride's cousins smirking, sipping at their pocket flasks. A bill shoved hard along the bride's wrist into her sleeve. Her mother hissing, enough to get you home. You'll wake up and understand the mistake you've made. The little slips of paper her mother's penned, poisons tucked into my mother's valise, shards among the stockings and chemises. A man who owns nothing is nothing. Don't look for me at your door. Until now, you never disappointed me. My father beside my mother in the car, her hand in his. With the cash, she buys him a gold band. Poisonous as azalea honey. Thud against the bumper as the boxer ran into the road. How slowly the breath heaved as the dog's lungs filled. How still as stones his eyes. The flame, the subsequent dim wick. Oh, to see what's coming, the sleek shape flashing across the yard toward the car. Or my mother ambling across the porch, chattering, admiring the azaleas, not minding her feet, the missed step, the downward crumple into a heap beside the barbecue, a pile of laundry, arms and legs askew in all directions. If I see a boxer now, I cannot rub its ears or stroke its trembling flank. The young cop's hand on my shoulder, the dog running loose all year, the owner warned and warned. I should have warned my mother about that step. Instead, I stood there toting up the ways I'd failed, which was all I could seem to do about the cataclysm of limbs and lamentation at my feet. That and hoist her up. That and buckle her into the car for the ER. The blossoms were already beginning to drop, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. Hot liquor. Not the crystal, not the Murano paperweights, not the Hummels she'd accused me of coveting. What I brought home, the last dust swept from my mother's place, that little Madonna of generosity, glass shaker, octagonal base, dome chrome screw top, the white sifting so perfectly, neither fast nor slow, the only one in the kitchen that never clogs. For breakfast eggs, the slice of tomato. I go on reaching for it. The reluctance of water to boil or freeze as salt is added. The heart's narrow tolerance, too much, pressure builds, too little, the pulse flutters. Shimmer of oil, of onion slivered half moons, collards simmered all afternoon with bone. Thank you.
Andrea Pierceall is our next reader.
To see everybody's face. I've been on a little hiatus, so it's nice to see everybody. Thank you. My first poem is called Kintsugi. Once in a dream, I was kissed by a man disguised as a mosquito on the steps of Sacré-Cœur. It swelled my heart, and I woke up upside down. My head grazed the bottom of the ocean, and my fingers were fishing nets trawling for the sound of your voice. I forgot cremation flamed your volume to mute. When I swim to the surface, I smell gasoline and glue under an inky sky. A thunderbolt is stuck in the bottom of the boat. Before I bail, I gather a handful of you. I mold your gray ashes into an egg of embers. All the cracks are glazed in gold. My wedding band hand waves as the oval of you floats away, and we both glint in the moonlight. I'm trying to teach myself tarot, and I'm trying to learn more about Keats, so I decided to combine them. And I'm doing a series of a poem called Cards and Keats. So I'll just read you a few of them. The Five of Cups. I shuffle the cards of blue sky and stars. They have a waxy sheen, alive as soft skin. I handle them as carefully as silk, cashmere, folding one into the other without sound. These cards are personal, not meant for poker. Never pollute them with smoke or the clatter of chips or coins. Never rifle one half of the deck into the other and tap them on the table before cutting. I hold the deck in my left hand and take small sections with the right and ease them back into each other softly, like love, like sex, one part folding into another with tender intent, asking what I need to know. It's the Five of Cups, cups again. I see shame. The figure in the forefront wears a black shroud. His bare head bent, strands of black hair askew. The reeds at river's edge bend in the wind. 3 cups are lying on the ground, spilling blood or wine. And atop the distant hill is a castle ruin, the greenery growing from its crumbling windows and arches twists and twines toward the graven earth. Blackbirds circle in the sour sky, the clouds the color of smoke. If there was a soundtrack, it would be Mahler. Psst, turn around. 2 full cups rest on flat ground right behind the crestfallen figure. Turn your back to the wind. The general assembly of optimism awaits you. An ample store of misery thou hast. Choke not the granary of thy noble mind with more bad, bitter grain, too difficult to cud for the repentance of a man. The night of Cups. This morning over coffee, I draw the Knight of Cups. It's my dead husband disguised. His armor is finely tailored. Blue epaulets rest on his shoulders like feathers. They flutter as he moves forward, his only direction. He camouflages his wings under a wide cape that falls over his saddle in 7 folds. His torso is fish-scaled silver that shines in the darkness. small beams concealing a sky of stars. In his right hand, a chalice of silver cinders cold from the river of his ashes. His visor is lifted from his face, and a bluebird's talons hold it atop his head. There are mountains on the right, encircled in green, and held by a river that knows the beginning. He won't look at me, no matter how fiercely I wave. Knights have a mission, and he's still trying to slay his dragons. He did not stir his eyes from the dead leaves or one small pulse of joy he might have felt. For my last one, I just have a small one that I actually worked on with Kathy last week because we've been meeting together once a month. So she sort of helped me polish this a little bit. The seventh winter after my husband's death. The old ponderosa pine wearily leans out and over the roof, gently laying its snow-laden limbs upon the house's narrow shoulders. Thank you.
Tonight, next up, please welcome Nicca Ray.
The night traveler. He is a black satin sheet in the wind, thrusting his fingers around her neck. She is the black stiletto walking the winding Hollywood hills. He is a black top hat riding high the harvest moon. She is the black mood, the rolling fog blinding. He is the black Cadillac missing that sudden curve, spinning wheels atop the city lights. She is the freshly laid tar catching the falling car. She is the scissors sharp, cutting the black satin sheet. She is the black stiletto walking the winding Hollywood hills, the harvest moon in the black mood fog. Inside out. In the out, the outer in, outside inside, one big blend. I went in the outdoor, in the out, brought the outside inside through my heart, a stabbing. I thought I was looking at myself when I looked at you. I brought you in, you threw me out. I went out the indoor, held still, in mid-step, held breath, looked sideways, looked down, looked up, looked round, stepped backward, stopped. Outside is no place for inside to wander. I followed you in, I followed you out. I stared into mirrors, I looked back at me. The inside became outside. The outside in, I brought you in, I threw you out. In the outer in, outside inside, one big blend. The secrets I keep. I whisper just so softly in your ear, so softly you may not hear. A confession so jarring, our love will be ended, barring a night of repentance in one repetitive sentence. Sorry, so very sorry, my heart, so fragile, so very fragile, breaks apart into tiny pieces scattered on the floor. Sorry, so very. Is there more I can reveal about the sorrow I feel? Begging forgiveness, I kneel, my tears dropping into your hand. Without you, where might I land? In darkness, no doubt. Sorry, so very sorry about those nights so long ago when all I wanted was to show off my body to you, but you could not see what I needed from you, and I could not see what you needed from me. This was from the prompt, instead of gazing at the sea. My body curves the canyon road, swimsuit on, the backseat, sand-matted hair. I watched the crashing waves until the sun turned to moon. The stars came out to shine, my gaze shifting from bodily pleasures, my eyes wandering star to star to star to star, a trillion dandelions blowing wishes through sky. And I don't remember what prompt this was for, but it was around the time my first serious boyfriend died of a heroin overdose. So this is called What is Death by Overdose for Raymond, RIP 9/22. Where did you go? Body on floor. You turn blue, turn ghost. What is prison? Flesh, bone, the cell you're escaping from. You are the mist clouding my sight. You are the fog rolling in every night. Your memory brushes my thoughts, dead, already buried, but alive. I have carried the weight and the sorrow of your playing Russian roulette with the needle all my life. Alone in the night, I have cried. I think of you, envision you under moonlit sky, tying off to stave off. Was it loneliness? The last we talked, you were lonely, feeling adrift. Were you filled for a moment, full of love and warmth for a second at least, 1 minute before your heart stopped beating? Were you less lonely than you were before? What is spirit? Does it turn to mist? Does it rise out of the blue skin tone, take a form, become a wave, sweeping shores with fury? Or is your spirit calm now, a sleepy lake, a shadow? Are you floating between here and there? I saw you in my dream last night. And this is called Mother Angel Wings. Her arms flowing to drumbeat, she bump to bump to bumps. Feet scatter, heels on grassy lawn, press, make imprints, bending, waist to toes, arms flowing side to side, bump to bump to bump. A butterfly, she rises, spreading her angel wings across me. That's it. Thank you.
And please welcome to the Zoom stage, Gerald Wagoner.
All right. I took a lot of the poems I'd written originally, and over the summer, I fooled around with making them into pantoums. And so I'll share a couple. Swaths of Stars. I bought a fried bread taco that brisk afternoon, certain I came here to end something. Some poems are traumas in need of triage. You don't know the number of nights I lay certain I was now at the end of something clear that flows down from mountain snow. You don't know the number of nights I lay swallowing galactic swaths of cold stars that flowed down from mountain snow to lie awake in lakes on still crisp nights. I swallowed single galactic swaths of stars to smuggle back a batch of cold comfort. They lie awake in lakes on still crisp nights, unaware that landlocked salmon are there to smuggle back batches of cold comfort before wolfing it down under big city sky. Unaware that landlocked salmon were there, I bought a fat fried bread taco that afternoon. Greedy, I wolfed it down under a bright city sky. Some poems are traumas in need of triage. From my imaginary childhood. Stark daybreaks. As a child, I was at liberty to roam until we drove through a dry winter blizzard into wind-scoured wheat fields where oil derricks stood as lonely as guard towers. We drove through long Montana blizzards. Blind cattle we plodded east past lights grim as guard towers dim in the night. Hunted stark daybreaks sharp as knives. Blind cattle we plod east past starlights from tiny towns warped in cat black ridges. We hunt stark daybreaks with sharp knives. Nodding pumps suck thick, rich crude up from tiny towns trapped by black flat ledges. Wind swirls naked snow and stubble straw. Nodding pumps suck thick, rich crude up. A tiny town bores deep against its heart. Wind swirls naked snow and stubble straw. As a child, I was at liberty to roam until a tiny town bored deep against its heart with dark derricks in a wind-scoured field. The vault. I sit on the banks of an oft-fished creek. My younger son snarled the line in his reel. I am my dad, hunting for the unraveling key in silence, drawing out one loop at a time. My teen son has snarled the line in his reel. My dad would recount airing bland receipts in silence, drawing out one number at a time until he could close the vault, go sit, watch. Dad would recount dreary blank receipts on a lakeshore, the sun setting, cast out again, before he would lock the door, come home, his post-war sons too young to know then. A lakeshore, the sun setting, cast out again, sorting ancient from recent deceits hidden to post-war sons, indifferent to his discipline. Maybe the nibble he feels is reward enough. I separate ancient from recent lost conceits, sitting on the banks of an oft-fished creek. Maybe the nibble he felt was reward enough. I am my dad, hunting for the unraveling key. And finishing off, late March with Monet. Winter has returned with a cold snap of the fingers. Again, parka, knit cap, and gloves. Monet painted all of his winter landscapes on site. He would wear 3 overcoats, 3 pairs of gloves, and schlep 20 to 25 unfinished canvases, plus brushes and paints and easels. Monet did this in solitude. Snow and light whisper to the patient listener. Wait, and haystacks demonstrate the art of being ablaze. Cathedrals trade stone for shimmer. Wait, and the world explains how it is that color is light, with a slender cherry tree. Its petite buds fresh split, its wee petals forming white flowers with centers so pink, so primal. They giggle in the wind to show that it's the light, not the heat, that draws them out. Thank you.
So our final reader is Will Walker.
Or wait until we partner. This is called astrology. I still read the daily horoscopes, but mostly wish I could just write my own. You will eat fish today. Your brain will be luminous. You will dispute with your dog over the nature of God. The neighbor child will leave a message on the sidewalk, sending her love. And when you dream, expect travel delays, but definitely insist on flying first class. Don't worry, have a weird day. And yes, you will enjoy the fish. Okay, that's it. Thanks.
I'd like to go ahead and bring everybody up. These are all our readers as well as our watchers. So thank you all for being here. It's so glad. Let's give ourselves a hand. This was a wonderful reading and I really appreciate it.